What if I told you that right now, somewhere in the world, a stolen Vermeer worth $250 million is hanging in a billionaire's private mansion? A painting so famous that its theft made international headlines, yet it remains missing after more than 3 decades. This isn't fiction. This is the shadowy reality of the art world's billion-dollar black market. Welcome to a world where masterpieces become currency, where organized crime syndicates treat Picassos like poker chips, and where a single painting can fund an entire terrorist operation. Today, we're stepping inside the most sophisticated criminal enterprise you've never heard of, the global trade in stolen art. The numbers are staggering. UNESCO estimates that stolen art worldwide is worth nearly $10 billion annually, making art crime one of the most lucrative black markets on the planet. We're talking about the third most trafficked commodity in the world, ranked only behind weapons and narcotics. But here's what makes this different from every other crime. When these masterpieces disappear, they take centuries of human history with them. From the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist that shocked Boston to the systematic looting by Nazi forces, from the mysterious disappearance of Caravaggio's Nativity to the brazen daylight robbery of Munch's The Scream. These aren't just thefts, they're cultural assassinations. But who's buying these stolen masterpieces? How do you fence a painting that's instantly recognizable to millions? And why do some of the world's wealthiest criminals prefer a stolen Van Gogh over a vault full of cash? By the end of this video, you'll understand how this invisible empire operates, why it's nearly impossible to stop, and how the very paintings hanging in the world's most prestigious museums might not be as secure as you think. The perfect crime, why art theft is different. Let me paint you a picture of the perfect crime. You walk into a building, take something worth $500 million, and walk out. No explosions, no high-tech gadgets, no elaborate heists like you see in the movies, just you, a knife to cut a canvas, and the audacity to steal a piece of human history. This is exactly what happened on March 18, 1990, at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. 2 men dressed as police officers convinced a security guard to let them in. 81 minutes later, they walked out with 13 artworks worth over $500 million, including Johannes Vermeer's The Concert, one of only 34 known paintings by the Dutch master. But here's the twisted irony of art theft. The more famous a painting, the harder it becomes to sell. These thieves had just stolen the most valuable art collection in modern history, yet they couldn't sell a single piece on the open market. Why? Because everyone in the world would recognize these paintings instantly. This creates what experts call the art theft paradox. The very fame that makes a painting worth hundreds of millions also makes it worthless to a thief trying to sell it. As one Reuters analysis put it, well-known paintings are nearly impossible to sell due to their fame and traceability. Criminals typically get less than 10% of a painting's open market value on the black market. So why do they steal them? Because in the criminal underworld, these paintings serve a completely different purpose. They're not merchandise, they're leverage. The criminal currency, how stolen art really works. Forget everything you think you know about art thieves. They're not sophisticated collectors building private galleries. They're businessmen running a shadow economy where Picassos function as currency and Rembrandts serve as collateral for drug deals. Here's how it really works. When the Boston Mafia allegedly orchestrated the Gardner heist, they weren't planning to sell those paintings. FBI investigators believe the art was stolen specifically to use as a bargaining chip, leveraged to negotiate the release of imprisoned gang leaders. Think of it as the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card worth $500 million. This is the dark genius of the art black market. Stolen masterpieces become what experts call frozen currency, assets so valuable and recognizable that they can't be sold, but so prestigious that they command respect in criminal circles. Italian organized crime groups have a profound belief in art, recognizing that a painting embodies a value that's difficult to calculate, giving it utility as a stable, intangible asset within the criminal system. But the criminal applications go far beyond simple leverage. UNESCO warns that art theft and trafficking fuels money laundering, tax fraud, and sometimes even the financing of terrorist activities. When you can't trace the ownership of a $50 million painting, it becomes the perfect vehicle for washing dirty money. The scale is breathtaking. The Financial Action Task Force reports that the sum available for money laundering through the art market was equivalent to $1.6 billion in 2009 alone. The American art market, valued at $28.3 billion, has been labeled the largest unregulated market in the world, making it exceptionally vulnerable to financial crimes. The buyers in the shadows. Who purchases stolen masterpieces? So who's actually buying these stolen masterpieces? The answer reveals the darkest corners of global wealth. Since a stolen masterpiece can't be publicly sold or displayed without immediate identification, the black market relies on a deeply insulated layer of consumers. The vast majority of high-profile stolen art is presumed to reside in ultra-private collections belonging to what investigators call wealthy people willing to buy rare illegal goods. The demand side is driven by specific buyer profiles that read like a rogues gallery of global corruption. First, there's commissioned theft. In many cases, thieves are hired by a specific person who commissions the theft for their private collection. This allows the buyer to acquire masterpieces at a significant discount from the full market price, guaranteeing exclusivity and secrecy. Then there's what investigators call the kleptocrat class. The demand for high-value art is increasingly linked to drug lords, oil oligarchs, and political kleptocrats who are desperate to turn their dirty money into a clean or fungible asset. Recent international investigations have demonstrated the acquisition of potentially stolen or illicitly sourced cultural property by Russian oligarchs, highlighting how transnational financial figures utilize art to store and whitewash their fortunes. But perhaps the most chilling buyers are those who see art as the ultimate trophy. These aren't people who appreciate beauty, they're collectors of power itself. Owning a stolen Picasso isn't about aesthetics. It's about possessing something that the entire world wants but can never have. The heist that changed everything? The Gardner Museum. Let's go back to that night in Boston, because the Gardner heist represents everything that's wrong with art security and everything that's brilliant about art crime. The execution was almost embarrassingly simple. At 1:24 a.m., two men in police uniforms rang the buzzer at the Gardner Museum's employee entrance. They told the security guard they were responding to a disturbance call. The guard, Rick Abath, broke protocol and let them in. Within minutes, both guards were handcuffed in the basement, and the thieves had 81 minutes to work undisturbed. But here's what makes this case fascinating. The thieves left behind some works of potentially greater value. They ignored a Michelangelo and several other masterpieces, suggesting either a specific theft to order or intimate knowledge of the black market's preferences. What they took tells the real story. Vermeer's The Concert, valued at $250 million, is now considered the most valuable stolen object currently unrecovered. Rembrandt's only known seascape, The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, works by Degas, Manet, and Flink. In total, 13 pieces that represented not just monetary value, but irreplaceable cultural heritage. The FBI quickly focused on organized crime, specifically the Boston Mafia. The most persistent theory implicates gangster Bobby Donati, who allegedly organized the heist to use the paintings as leverage to negotiate for the release of his imprisoned boss. This wasn't a robbery for cash. It was an act of political power within the criminal underworld. But here's the tragic irony. Donati was murdered 1 year after the robbery, effectively freezing the assets within the criminal network and complicating the recovery trail forever. The paintings vanished into a maze of criminal connections, and 34 years later, they remain missing. The Gardner Museum continues to offer a $10 million reward for information leading to the recovery of the art, the largest private bounty ever offered. Today, empty frames still hang in the museum's galleries as permanent placeholders, a haunting memorial to the cultural treasures that vanished. The Mona Lisa. When theft creates legends, not every art theft ends in permanent loss. Sometimes crime can accidentally create the very fame it seeks to exploit. This is the strange story of how the Mona Lisa became the world's most famous painting, through theft. On August 21, 1911, an Italian handyman named Vincenzo Peruggia walked into the Louvre wearing a worker's smock. Finding the gallery empty, he lifted the Mona Lisa off its hooks, slipped into a stairwell, removed the panel from its frame, wrapped it in his smock, and simply walked out. The theft wasn't discovered until the next day. Initially, staff assumed the painting had been taken to be photographed or cleaned. When the alarm finally sounded, France was thrown into panic. But here's the fascinating part. At the time of the theft, the Mona Lisa was not universally recognized as a major masterpiece. It was often considered a lesser work by Da Vinci. The massive international media coverage generated by the heist was the definitive catalyst that propelled the painting to fame, cementing its status as the world's most famous painting. When the Louvre reopened, crowds of thousands flocked to stare at the empty space on the wall where the portrait once hung. Perugia kept the painting hidden in a trunk in his Paris apartment for over 2 years. His motives were a mix of patriotism and greed. He claimed he wanted to return the painting to Italy, but he also sought a payoff. In late 1913, he contacted an art dealer in Florence and offered to return the Mona Lisa for a reward. The dealer alerted police, and Perugia was caught. The painting was triumphantly returned to the Louvre in January 1914, and Perugia received a relatively light sentence. But the damage, or perhaps the gift, was done. As one writer noted, the Mona Lisa had left the Louvre a work of art. She returned as public property, the first mass art icon. The scream that echoed twice. Some paintings seem to attract crime like magnets. Edvard Munch's The Scream has been stolen not once, but twice in increasingly brazen heists that reveal the evolution of art crime. The first theft occurred in February 1994 as Norway hosted the Winter Olympics. Two thieves saw an opportunity in the distracted security and scaled a ladder into the National Gallery in Oslo. They snatched the painting and left a cheeky note. "Thanks for the poor security." The thieves demanded a $1 million ransom, but Norwegian police organized a sting operation with help from British detectives in the Getty Museum. The painting was recovered within 3 months. Largely unharmed, several men were arrested, though later released on legal technicalities. But the real shock came a decade later. In August 2004, masked gunmen barged into the Munch Museum in Oslo in broad daylight, threatening staff and visitors as they ripped the Scream and Munch's Madonna off the walls. The robbers fled in a waiting car, leaving Norway stunned by the boldness of the crime. For 2 years, the painting's fate was a mystery. Rumors spread that the thieves might destroy them to eliminate evidence. The motivations seemed to be sheer criminal greed and perhaps leverage. Some speculated the theft was linked to gangsters trying to negotiate lighter sentences in unrelated cases. In August 2006, Norwegian police finally recovered both paintings in a covert operation. To the art world's relief, the damage was less than feared. The Scream had only minor moisture damage, and Madonna had some tears that conservators later repaired. Several men were convicted, receiving between 4 to 8 years in prison. These repeated heists highlight the dark allure of cultural trophies. The painting's universal recognition made it a tempting target, as if some thieves wanted the infamy of stealing the soul of Norway. But the outcomes also underscore the desperation. The criminals ended up jailed and the paintings nearly ruined. The Nazi machine, systematic cultural destruction. The largest art theft in history wasn't a single heist. It was a state-sponsored plunder that lasted 12 years. During World War II, the Nazi regime looted an estimated hundreds of thousands of artworks across Europe, motivated by a toxic mix of ideology and greed. Nazi officials seized masterpieces from museums and Jewish collectors with industrial efficiency. While many works were recovered by Allied monuments men after the war, countless others vanished into the black market or remain hidden to this day. This systematic theft was an assault on entire cultures. Stolen paintings, sculptures, and religious artifacts represented a tragic erasure of cultural heritage on a massive scale. The Nazi looting operation reveals art crime's most sinister potential: cultural genocide. When you steal a people's art, you steal their history, their identity, their soul. The financial value becomes secondary to the psychological warfare. Even today, families are still fighting to recover artworks stolen by the Nazis. Museums worldwide continue to discover pieces in their collections with questionable provenance, leading to complex legal battles and moral reckonings. The Nazi art theft program didn't just steal objects. It created a shadow that still haunts the art world 8 decades later. The modern syndicate, organized crime, goes global. Today's art criminals have evolved far beyond the crude smash-and-grab operations of the past. Modern art theft is a sophisticated, international enterprise that rivals legitimate businesses in its complexity and reach. Take the 2019 burglary of the Green Vault in Dresden, Germany. Thieves broke into the museum and stole 4,300 diamonds and other precious stones. This crime was quickly linked to the notorious Remo clan, an Arab crime syndicate, confirming the continued involvement of established organized crime in sophisticated cultural heists. The criminal plan for monetizing such highly identifiable assets follows a predictable blueprint: immediate dismantling or fragmentation to maximize untraceable liquidity. Authorities suspect that one stolen item, a gold coin valued at 3.75 million euros, was likely cut into smaller, untraceable pieces and sold off. 5 members of the Remo family were eventually convicted, but the strategy reveals the modern approach: destroy the art to preserve the profit. This represents the ultimate tragedy of contemporary art crime. Where historical thieves at least preserve the artworks they stole, modern criminals are willing to destroy masterpieces entirely if it serves their financial interests. A Caravaggio becomes scrap canvas. A priceless sculpture becomes raw materials. The cultural loss is incalculable. The Hunters. Fighting back against the darkness, but the art world isn't defenseless. A sophisticated international network of law enforcement agencies, private investigators, and technology experts is fighting back against the billion-dollar black market. The Italian Carabinieri Command for the Protection of Cultural Heritage, founded in 1969, was the world's first specialist police force dedicated to art crime. The Carabinieri TPC combats theft, illicit trade, and clandestine excavations, often partnering with U.S. agencies for major repatriations. The FBI art crime team has achieved over 11,800 recoveries since its creation, with an estimated value exceeding $160 million. Notable successes include the recovery of a Rembrandt self-portrait valued at $40 million during an undercover operation in 2005. Interpol maintains a publicly accessible database of nearly 57,000 stolen artworks, accessible via the ID Art mobile app. This database is a crucial tool for law enforcement, auction houses, and private collectors performing due diligence. Recent enforcement efforts have increasingly focused on dismantling the demand side of the illicit market, targeting the wealthy individuals who finance the theft, and looting. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has achieved significant results, successfully seizing and repatriating dozens of stolen antiquities and imposing a lifetime ban on Michael Steinhardt, one of the world's largest ancient art collectors, after seizing $70 million in stolen antiquities from him. The price of beauty: what we lose when art disappears. The true cost of art theft goes far beyond dollars and cents. When a masterpiece disappears, we lose something irreplaceable: a piece of human history, a window into our collective soul. With the theft of cultural property, what we lose are centuries of history and invaluable heritage, a UNESCO official explained. Each theft robs present and future generations of a piece of their cultural identity. Only an estimated 10% of stolen art is ever recovered, meaning most looted masterpieces remain lost to the public forever. The empty frames at the Gardner Museum serve as a permanent, powerful metaphor. They're not just placeholders for missing dollars, but permanent memorials to the dark impulse of human nature and the theft of collective, irreplaceable history. Consider what we've lost. Vermeer's The Concert, one of only 34 known works by the master, has been missing for over 3 decades. Caravaggio's Nativity with St. Francis and St. Lawrence was cut from its frame in 1969 and likely destroyed by the Sicilian mafia. Countless artifacts looted from archaeological sites in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan have vanished into private collections, their historical context lost forever. These aren't just objects. They're time machines connecting us to the minds and hearts of people who lived centuries ago. When they disappear, that connection is severed, and we all become a little more isolated from our shared human experience. The future of the shadow market. As we look toward the future, The billion-dollar black market in stolen art shows no signs of slowing down. If anything, it's becoming more sophisticated, more international, and more destructive. New technologies offer both opportunities and threats. While digital databases and advanced authentication techniques help identify stolen works, the same technologies that enable global commerce also facilitate international art trafficking. Cryptocurrency provides new ways to launder money through art purchases, and the rise of NFTs in digital art creates entirely new categories of potential theft. The fundamental drivers remain unchanged. As long as there are people willing to pay enormous sums for exclusive ownership of beauty, there will be criminals willing to steal it. As long as there are corrupt officials willing to look the other way, there will be smuggling routes for stolen masterpieces. As long as there are unregulated markets where provenance questions aren't asked, there will be places to sell looted art. But perhaps most troubling is the growing willingness of modern criminals to destroy what they can't sell. Where previous generations of art thieves at least preserved the works they stole, today's criminals see masterpieces as nothing more than raw materials to be processed for maximum profit. The battle for our cultural heritage is far from over. Every day, somewhere in the world, another piece of human history disappears into the shadows. The question isn't whether art crime will continue, it's whether we'll find the will to stop it before we lose the masterpieces that define who we are as a species. The billion-dollar black market in stolen art represents more than just crime. It's a war against beauty itself, against the human impulse to create and preserve meaning. And in that war, we're all soldiers, whether we know it or not. The next time you visit a museum, look closely at the paintings on the walls. Appreciate them not just for their beauty, but for their survival. Because in a world where masterpieces can vanish overnight, every moment with great art is a gift that criminals are constantly trying to steal. The shadows are always watching, waiting for their next opportunity to turn beauty into currency, art into leverage, and our shared heritage into private profit. The only question is, will we let them win?